Welcome, everybody. This is the athletes and coaches meeting for NEIRA's. My name is Thad Gamula. I am with the local organizing committee. I am joined here tonight with Eric Houston, the president of NEIRA's, Steve McKiernan, the regatta director, Kristen Sanbento, the chief referee, Joe May, also a big name in the LOC side, and Betsy Collins, who is also with NEIRA's. And with that, I would like to introduce and pass everything off to Eric Houston for a welcome. Eric?
Thank you, Thad. Welcome, everybody. It looks like we're going to be able to pull this off this weekend, though I do recommend that your athletes bring some warm clothing because it's going to be cooler than usual and maybe a little windy, but I think we're going to escape the rain, which hopefully will make it a more pleasant experience. Want to kick off a couple things, sort of rehash from last year. First off, make sure that you send your parents and all the coaches, or your parents, the parent packet. I think there's a lot of information that Betsy has put together that is pretty valuable, and your coaches should read the coaches packet. In that will be maps and instructions for Friday practice that will also be posted here, and Saturday traffic patterns and the like, and a lot of good rules and reminders. So please make sure that the parent packet has been sent out and that the coaches and coxswains take a look at the coaches packet. We do plan to have a QR code. We'll get that out to you shortly, and it'll be posted on our Instagram and on our web. QR code can be used for the gate donation, and it'll be a lot easier if we can encourage people to use that rather than to bring cash. I also want to touch on, it's going to be crowded this year. We're trying to accommodate as many trailers as possible. So a quick reminder that you have to have 4 racing shells, meaning that 4 shells that are actually going to be racing in this regatta on your trailer. If you have fewer than that, we will get you in to unload the trailer, but then we'll have to ask you to move the trailer to another location. Joe's going to, and his staff will do a really good job of parking all the trailers, but please be patient and also polite with all the staff as we try to accommodate as many athletes and trailers as possible. To that note, it would be helpful that after you rig a couple boats, if you could put them on a trailer and just free up a little bit of the very sparse, if you will, spaces in that park for rigging. I just think that would be a huge help. Other news that may be a little bit different than previous years, we're going to not allow tents along the wall by the launching docks down by the lake. We just had a lot of issues with people moving through the launching area and having to duck through boats and getting in the way and the like. Also, we will be checking heel ties. That's part of U.S. rowing rules. So be sure that your heel ties are done, and not only for the morning, but also for the afternoon. And if a ref who is checking the heel ties asks you to step aside and redo them or find them, please understand they're doing their job. This is safety, and be polite and respectful. And we'll try to get this, we'll try to help you. We'll have zip ties available for anybody who needs them. A little less exciting little note is we do have extra portalettes this year, but we all seem to run out of toilet paper, so maybe good to bring some extra toilet paper. And then the sort of last thing I have is that with this wind, we do have the ability, if we decide at any time, to change the lanes. And if we do so, we'll give you a race or a couple of races ahead of time of a warning, and it will be sent out via text. This will be in through communication with the referees and the regatta committee. And we don't like doing that, but if it's obvious that there are unfair wins, we may make that change. So just be prepared, and every once in a while, take a look at your phone. Other than that, unless I'm missing anything, I wish you all a wonderful weekend and some great racing. And hopefully you can stay dry tomorrow if you're packing your trailer, because it's going to be a deluge on the East Coast. So I look forward to seeing you all, and good luck.
Great. Thank you, Eric. Okay, next I would like to introduce another member of the LOC, Joe May, to go over arrival and parking information. Joe?
Thanks. Pretty straightforward here, guys. You can see this is a diagram schematic of the parking lot with the parking lines there. I give that to my former Marine sergeant, who will be directing these trailers in. He really is one. And he takes quite literally his instructions. So please do as he asks. Otherwise, I'll get a phone call. There are a couple of smaller spots. If we've got some smaller trailers, he may ask them to go in, but typically on this sheet, we're going to move from left to right. As you enter the park, if you're the first one in, you're going to go to parking space number 1, and we'll just work our way down the line like that. It's much better for people when the trailer drivers have plenty of room to make that swing. We don't want anybody trying to wedge in between 2 trailers already. As you can see, there is only 1 parking space in between these trailers. That is 9 feet. It's enough to get boats in and out, but that's about it. There's no room to rig boats, certainly in between any of these trailers, unfortunately. Eric mentioned about trying to get boats back, rig boats back up onto your trailers. That would be a great service to people. There's certainly some flat places on land to claim, but please be mindful that there are plenty of crews out here who would like to share that space as equitably as possible. And when it comes to team tents, we'd ask that you put them close to the gently sloped areas and treed areas where there's no boat storage, but leave the flat areas for boats themselves. Everybody's very, very good about that. Also, we'll mention there's a handful of pipe racks on the south side of the main building, and also to the south side further on the main building, there's a smaller boathouse. There is area out there as well. So, you know, you've really got the run of the park. This is south of the finish line. There's plenty of room there. You can talk to us when we're there and see if it's okay to go into most areas. We probably won't say no, except the areas next to the north docks by the concrete wall. We'll stay out of there with team tents. But otherwise, we always find this to be a very fun and cooperative crowd. Look forward to seeing you all there. And I know we mentioned the rain, but as I always tell my crews when it's raining, vi bestien niet out sugar. We're not made of sugar, so we'll be good.
Great. Thank you, Joe. Next, I'm going to pass it off to the Regatta Director, Steve McKiernan. But before I do that, I just want to point out to everybody, since comments are turned off and nobody, the only people you can see are the presenters tonight. At the bottom right of your screen, there are dots. There's 9 of them. If you click that, if at any point during this meeting you have questions, there is a Q&A function. You can enter anything through that, and we will address everything at the end of the meeting. So once again, if anything comes up during the presentation and you have any questions, please enter through that, and we will try to address it as best as we can at the end of the meeting. With that, I would like to pass it off to the Regatta Director, Steve McKiernan, to go over the traffic pattern on practice and race day. Steve? Oh, Steve, you're muted.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, just to reiterate what both Joe and Eric have said, we know that the space is limited, so I think it's important that we all try to work together on this. Coxswains, be aware or well aware of how you're maneuvering your boats, because again, it's just going to be tight quarters. But if we're all working together, everything should be fine. Coaches, I ask you remind parents that space is tight, and sometimes the tent issue can become. Some people like to kind of sprawl out, and but again, space is limited. So again, if we all work together, things should be fine. So as far as Friday goes, we are going to open the gate at 8 o'clock to start allowing trailers in. Practice will start at 1 o'clock. And for those of you that are new to Regatta Point, if you look at the Friday traffic pattern, so where it says Friday practice traffic pattern, that's where the trailers are going to be, to give you just sort of a frame of reference. And so that's the Worcester shore. And so you'll be launching from that either Regatta Point area. We will have some finger docks down by the wall, which you'll see. But when you launch from the docks, the Worcester side is lane 1. All right, so I don't want looking across, it looks like lane 6 is Worcester. So Worcester is lane 1, and lane 2 is going to be our dead lane for practice. And again, you can see what you're allowed to do in those lanes. The bridge north of Regatta Point, we don't want to go through, and the bridge down south, which is a 290 bridge. You may go through it for practice. It may not be necessary. Avoid that if you can, but if for some reason you can't, you are welcome to go through that bridge on Friday. But again, on Saturday you're not. So if you are practicing for Saturday, maybe practice not going through the bridge. So Dad, if we can go to the race, the racing pattern. Let's see. Okay. So again, you'll see you'll be going down on the outside of lane 1, again on that Worcester shore. It's going to get crowded. You probably not going to have a lot of space to do much work as far as your warm-up. So we do recommend you get the bulk of your warm-up in on land. And again, as you see, as you move to the starting line, there's that circle where you can go around and practice. There will be marshals there. But again, that's a very limited amount of space. I don't think you can get a 10 in, a powered, a pressure 10 in any of those directions. And Eric or Dad, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's, it's a pretty limited space. You can maybe do a start. So we do advise you get as much of a warm up in on land as possible.
Steve?
Yep.
There's more room in the first 500 meters of the collegiate course for warming up for high schools than there is above the 290 bridge for colleges. They have 500 meters basically between the bridge and the starting line. If they
Okay.
put 10 and 500 meters, we got other issues.
Right. Okay. Makes sense.
It is essentially the first 500 meter. It's a 500 meter long space, and it's the full width of the lake. So what I would advocate is that they take the full advantage of that space and not try to cross in the middle. Obviously, that causes hazards for collisions. But the amount of times where you're going to have so many 8s in that area that it's that congested, I think maybe there's about a 20-minute spell at any given time. But they should have plenty of room, or we wouldn't have made the change.
Okay. Steve,
And then
interrupt real quick.
Yep.
Since there may be, or there definitely will be other boats there, what we do ask is before you do any pressure piece, just have your bow person take a look at, obviously at a bow load, it's not a problem, but in the 8s, have your bow person take a look behind you, excuse me, to make sure that it's clear for any pressure.
So, Doug, I believe then they'll get called into the start from the Shrewsbury shore.
Yeah, the goal, just to be clear, we want everybody to have as much of a warm up as they need and they want, if at all possible. But generally speaking, we try to start lining the crews up in order of their lanes. Pretty much once the other race is within 2 minutes, we're calling the others in, because you're dealing with 8-9 minute centers. There's not a lot of time between races. The advantage to getting everybody lined up is that they're on time for their race, and we want to make sure that the regatta stays on time, primarily for the benefit of the rowers, but also there's an audience watching live stream and so on and so forth. So we really need to make sure we stay on time. So sometimes we run into crews that feel like they're a little bit surprised that their warm-up is being curtailed. So my advice is make sure you try to get as much of a warm-up in and plan for the race ahead of you to be a period of time where you're focused on getting ready to get into the course. And we're not trying to let you get cold. In fact, if it's an especially cold day, we're going to want to keep you moving as long as possible, because we don't want you sitting there and losing the benefit of the work you've put in to get warm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I would say, so once they're pulled in, again, noting the conditions that we're expecting, I think it's pretty vital that coaches and coxswains are practicing how to back into a starting dock and how to adjust accordingly. I was happy to see a team up in Charles River doing it today. So if we can get everyone some solid practice on that, that'd be super helpful. And I think, again, Doug or Kristen, you can speak about the potential of a quick start. I mean, I won't go there. But I will be at the course again all day tomorrow if folks have any questions, and happy to help out where I can.
Yeah, I'm happy to address that when you get to me, Steve.
I think that's going to be a transition now. I just wanted to point out one thing. We do have a very shallow area on the lake up at the starting area around the course, and we sometimes have issues. I don't anticipate it, but it's marked out with a keep out and the pump house icon right there. We do have a red buoy on it. Please, the object is not to aim for the red buoy. Go around the red buoy. Don't go between the red buoy and shore. We've had a couple crews have some dangerous times before the race. Okay, with that, I would like to introduce the chief referee for the race, Kristen Sambento. Kristen?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for attending. I'm going to go through this as quickly as I can because you can read most of these things in your packet. All right. All right. So, again, we're using the U.S. rowing rules. So you should all have a copy of that. It is online, 2025. All right. With Control Commission, please make sure that you come through ready. That'll save you time rather than having to pull off to the side and having to fix your heel ties. We're looking at about, let's see, 30 minutes from when you can launch before, technically. That's what we're looking at. And I believe they had about 85% compliance last year, so that's pretty good. But that meant that 15% of you had to go into slings. So, and we'd hate to see you waste time redoing something. All right. Also, when athletes get there, please make sure that their unis are up. I don't anticipate that'll be an issue, seeing as it will be chilly. Also, your bow markers. Please make sure that they are visible and sturdy. All right. Let's see. Inhalers. If you have an inhaler, please have it on you. If you have anything that the referees need to be aware of, seizure disorder, anything that we should know to keep an eye out for an athlete on the water, please, you can email me, you can let Steve or Eric know, and then the referees can just keep an eye out as that athlete is on the water. All right. In terms of warm-up, we stick to the scheduled time. We will always be on time, get on time, stay on time. on time. So, all right, make sure that you are leaving enough time to do everything that you need to. All right. And let's see. You should have a wristwatch or a cell phone on you. We did get rid of the restriction against electronic devices, but you know that you cannot receive outside help. Let's see. As you approach the 500-meter mark, please make sure to pay attention to the referees that are out there. They may stop your boats temporarily as to allow oncoming races to pass safely through the narrow point on the course. All right. And then crews rowing to the start should stop their boats as heats come down the course. And then once they pass, you can continue forward. As Thad has mentioned, you need to avoid the pump house area. There are rocks over there. I've seen crews try to go through that area. Please stay away from it. The shore and the buoy, stay away from that. Okay. We've already gone over the traffic pattern, so that's good. I don't feel like I need to go over that. All right. When you are being called, please make sure you're within earshot distance, all right? Or try and pay attention to the crews that are in your race or heat, all right? When you approach that platform, like Eric and Steve have mentioned, please know how to back, know how to pinch and point the boat. The problem is that if you take regular strokes, the stake boat holders cannot hold onto your boat. All right. So please get locked on with enough time and learn how to pinch your boat. All right. So as per the U.S. rowing rules of rowing for starting commands, we generally don't recognize hands, okay? But our starters are well-versed in everything, and they will make sure that you are pointed and ready to go, all right? We won't have the race start if somebody is crooked. We would never want to do that, all right? Just continue to work on your point and try and keep your point, and we will get you going, all right? Once the starter calls out attention, there should be no movement, none. All right. There will be a distinct pause between attention and go, distinct and variable. All right. Now, with that being said, quick starts. We could be going to quick starts, but the starter will say it. They'll announce quick start and then followed by attention, go. Now, we want all of you to race. However, if your crew cannot get locked on and or stay locked on, we may have to exclude you from that event. We will help you as much as we can, but again, please come prepared. There are only 8 and 9 minute centers. If there's breakage and it happens within the first 100 meters, stop and put your hand up. All right, the referee will stop the race and determine the severity. Are we answering questions at the end, Thad? I saw a question pop up.
We'll
Okay.
hit them all at the end.
Okay. All right, and then we'll look at the severity of the breakage. A jump slide or a crab is not considered breakage, so you should keep going. All right, but if you think that there's breakage, please raise your hand and we'll assess it. Now, with that being said, if you feel that you have broken something on the way to warm up, flag one of us down right away so we can get you into Donahue, if they need a quick fix, and we'll do our best. All right, there'll also be a flag that goes with, yes, there will. Oh, I'll answer that after, but yes, there is a starter's flag. It is red. Okay. All right. So as we're going down the course, please heed the white flag, which is the referee's direction. They'll say Lincoln, and then they'll move their flag to either side. So pay attention to that. All right. If we're taking course correction action for you, it's usually for a reason. So please be aware. Also be aware that referee launches may go ahead of your boats and could wake slower crews. And we apologize, but that could happen, and that's part of racing. All right. When you get to the end, if you feel that you want to object, put your hand up and let the referee know. They'll come right over to you and try and resolve it on the water with you. If you don't agree, we'll red flag that race at the finish. And then you must come in and present your protest in writing to the regatta director, or I, or Eric, Steve, Eric, and I. All right, I'll be right there at Regatta Point. Okay. Also, something that we wanted to add this year that is part of the U.S. rowing rules is 2-410. The unsportsmanlike conduct rule has shifted a little this year. One of the new changes is, in addition to the rule being that it has been extended to include spectators as well as athletes and coaches, which means it can be witnessed by or on information deemed reliable by a referee. So please, I know we're going to have a great race and everybody's going to be fantastic. All right. Also new for this year, Doug Stowe is our ombudsman. All right. And what that means is Doug can field questions or any possible issues that you might have. All right. I think that's about it. That's all I've got for you.
Great. Thank you, Kristen. And I just want to go over real quick. I don't know if it was mentioned before with anybody, but when we're entering the stake boats, we're rowing around and going across. We're never going in through the stake boats. Doug, did you want to jump in and say something?
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to add was just to back Kristen up on one thing relative to protests. It must be initiated on the water. Once you're on land, it's not the right time any longer.
Yes, once we've presented the white flag at the finish, that race is official. So if you're not sure, go ahead and put up your hand and a referee will come speak to you right on the water. So.
All right. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Doug. So I just want to briefly go over, in the event of an emergency, just to echo a little bit of what Kristen said, I'm talking medical emergency for this first part. We have many different safety officials on the water between the rowing officials, police, fire, EMS, and environmental police. If at any point you or anyone in your boat is having a medical issue, please stop and get the attention of the closest safety launch. Throw your hands up in the air, make noise, get the attention. If there's a medical issue, they will come over and assist you as best they can right there. If there is a weather emergency and we have to clear the course, the same mentioned safety officials will make an announcement. If we do, in the event that we have to evacuate the lake, any crews south of I have it listed as the 1,000-meter mark. It's anywhere from the first 500 all the way north will go to Donahue Rowing Center. Anyone past the first 500 and south will go to Regatta Point. So once again, anyone in the starting area, warm-up area, or in the first 500, if we have to evacuate the course, will go to DRC. Anyone south of that first 500 all the way to the finish line will go to Regatta Point. And to wrap up everything, please, no public urination. Porta potties are provided throughout Regatta Point. And just a brief touch on anything brought on the water by a crew must come off with the crew. No handing anything to the stake boat holders.
Can I add to your stake boat holders?
Yes.
The crews also need to know how to stop their boat before backing in. If they come in hot, the stake boat holders have been instructed not to put their hands down. They can get hurt. So please do not come in hot. Back in slowly. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. So at this point in time, this is the end of what we have to present to everybody. If you do have any questions, lingering questions, please submit everything by the Q&A feature, which you can see by the graphic on the screen. You would hit the 9 dots icon, hit Q&A, and then you can ask your question. We will go through them and address them as best we can. While we wait for the questions to come in, just a reminder, a recording of this meeting will be on the Quinsigamond Rowing Association YouTube page, and I will provide that link to everybody here to disperse as needed to make sure everybody has a link. Okay, first question. If there were to be a quick start, would it still be a stake boat start or floating start? Kristen?
Stake boat start.
All right. And then back to you again. Will there also be a flag at the start line that goes with attention go?
Yes, they'll say attention, raise a red flag, and then drop the flag and say go. You can go on the movement of the flag.
Perfect. Does getting waked out give cause for a protest?
Not necessarily. It's very rare that a referee will wake somebody. But if you are a bit behind first and second or third, there is a possibility you might get a little, but they're all in wakeless. So.
All right. Are you allowed to do starts in your lane between races?
Provided everybody gets in, that's up to the start. That's up to the starter when they call you in. But if everybody is efficient and gets into their lane, again, the starter will let you know.
Okay. Next question is, are there different colored buoys for 500 meters, 1,000 meters, and final 250? I can hit that one. Yes, every 500 meters, we have red buoys across the course. They're larger red buoys. You can't miss them, so they are at the 500 and 1,000. And the final 250 are the white buoys. The white little can buoys will change to red for that final 250 meters. What are the rules for breakage?
Can I interject one
Yeah.
quickly
Go ahead.
relative to the starting in your lane to warm up in your lanes? I just be mindful of the fact that it's 8 and 9 minute centers and you need to be locked on 2 minutes in advance to not be late. That does not leave a heck of a lot of time to warm up in your lane. I think that answers the question right there. We're not going to tell you no. I agree with Kristen entirely that it's up to the starter, but it's highly unlikely you're going to have time.
All right.
Right.
Rules for breakage.
Yes.
First 100 meters. Like we said, put up your hand as quickly as possible. Stop rowing, put up your hand. And if you put up your hand before you've effectively like floated out of the red buoys, we'll catch that. You know, we understand that you might float. But we're going to look for breakage, like something actually broken. Okay.
Okay. I usually send my crews out 40 to 45 minutes before race time. Is that too much?
Generally, we were looking at about 30, 35 minutes.
Okay. Could you please repeat protocol for inclement weather? Not sure if that's asking about reversing lanes or if they're talking about, I can go over my part saying if we have a thunderstorm roll through and we have to evacuate the course, it'll once again be announced to you. But I have a feeling this might be more based off the potential for lane swaps or adjustments. I don't know if Kristen or Eric or Steve.
Does Jessica, do you want to expand on your question?
Yeah.
We'll give you a minute if you want to expand on it. The penalties for interference, the presumed penalty for interference is exclusion. So don't do it. Stay in your lane. You are protected as long as you stay in your lane. So again, lane 6 only has one buoyed side. Okay, so keep that in mind. It doesn't mean you can wander. All right. Could you please repeat?
Yeah, this is we're waiting for if the question gets expanded.
I believe somebody asked me for my email. It should be in the packet as the very last thing after objections. So.
Yeah, and if for whatever reason, and I say this at every CNC meeting or coaches and athletes meeting, but if anything doesn't get answered here, by all means, go to somebody at Regatta Point, any of Kristen's officials. They'll have the blazers on. Eric, Steve, any of them. Go approach them. They're more than willing to answer any questions. No explanation needed. Perfect. Okay. I don't know if anybody else wanted to mention anything or if we had other topics that wanted to be brought up. But if everybody's good, I thank everybody for attending. Once again, a recording of this will be provided, and we will see everybody this weekend. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Thad.